Shabbat and the Hanukkah mode. And then we'll talk about Holland, and I'll show you all kinds of things. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Yasharet, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malchi Hamlechim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malchi Hamlechim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Achuni Shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon. Malachi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zitchem Shalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malchi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All right. Actually, I would like to introduce you to my husband, Ira Haimowitz. And do you want to come into the Zoom screen?
Hello, everyone.
Got to come a little closer.
There we go. Hello, Shabbat Shalom. Happy Hanukkah.
Everybody's on mute, so.
That's all right.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much.
Shabbat Shalom. I forgot. Sorry, Barbara, to interrupt. I forgot to mention that we have two sponsors this evening. We have our friends Naomi and David, who are sponsoring on David's 50th anniversary with Bar Mitzvah. And also the Bernsteins, Marcia is sponsoring because of her father and grandfather's yurt sites. There happened to be 50 years ago, and it's the 50th anniversary, and it's about a month apart. It was a unique thing. Both men passed away within a very short time of each other. So we thank our sponsors, and we want to let everybody know that you can sponsor. I know War and Suffering is going to be sponsoring next week. I think Barry Barnes, you're also sponsoring, aren't you? So we can have as many sponsors as you want. Please join us. We'd love to have you, and thank you for being here with us. And thank you, Barbara, for being here. And we'll talk more later on.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much. And mazel tov on all the honorees. And David Weil, congratulations. And mazel tov on your bar mitzvah. Vayeshev, I presume. Okay, so I'm Cantor Barbara Haimowitz. Oh, Cantor Rosenblum uses that melody for Shabbat. Yeah, I'd say it's a great, really upbeat Shabbat melody. So I'm Cantor Barbara Haimowitz, and I am originally from the Netherlands. You can hear it in my accent. I am just really, I was raised in a traditional Ashkenazi household in a suburb of Amsterdam called Amstelveen. Totally different nusach. So when I came here, I learned the Eastern European nusach. You'll hear a little bit of everything tonight. Not everything will be completely Dutch, otherwise I'm losing you. It will be familiar and unfamiliar, and I'll tell you when something happens that is somewhat unfamiliar. At the end, I will do a Dutch Aleno, and so you'll get that too. Before I get started, just want to give you a few things. This is the Shirei Chazanei Amsterdam Chazanut. So there are two big blue books that are all collected with the Chazanut from since the, let's say, the 15th, 16th century. Oh, how nice. Very nice. So you know what? I need to turn off my chat. I should not hear. I should not look at that at all. Yes, so I came when I was 22, 23. I came to the US, and I came from an Orthodox family. Well, Orthodox in the sense of that we belong to an Orthodox synagogue, and that conservative was not really something that everybody had heard from. Now it's slightly different, but still the Orthodox community is still much larger than the Reform and the conservative. So I started out at Harvard Hillel, and my roommate was the Gabbait of Harvard Hillel Egalitarian. And she said, you know what? I would like you to lean. I would like you to daven. Go do it. And I said, I've never done this before in my entire life. What am I going to do? And she says, oh, you'll figure it out. And so that's how I started on the path to becoming a cantor. So that's a few moons ago. I would like for us to do Lachuna Ranana, and that's a regular Lachuna Ranana that all of you know. So while I'm sitting in my living room, you see in the background, there is a poster of the Keukenhof. And the Keukenhof is the flower garden that is, it's blooming between April and June, or March and May, depends a little bit. So this year, of course, everything is closed, but the flowers have been blooming anyway. That's in the back. What you're seeing here, and I'm going to switch my computer a little bit, and this is a poster of the Jewish Historic Museum Amsterdam. And what you're seeing is the interior of the 17th century Portuguese synagogue. So that's a rendition of that. Next to that is my cantorial certificate. And that's the background that I am in today. I want to give you a few more interesting things, especially related to Hanukkah. This is a family heirloom, and I'm going to put it a little bit closer. On the bottom, you see the lions, and the lions are in the weaponry of the Netherlands. You also see the crown on the top. And this is very much a rendition. Well, this is actually an original. This is from the fairly late 19th century. Okay, so that's I wanted to show you. This you can't really use this. It's really a piece. It's not for Hanukkah. And then I have this piece, which is Yain Kiddush Lichvot Shabbat v'Yom Tov, which, and on the back it says L'chaim, and this you can fill with whatever liquid you're interested in for L'chaim. And lastly, rather than walking around, I have the cast iron. Let me see if I can actually show you somehow. Oh yeah, you can see it right there. If you see it, you see Nishba betuf beitecha chodesh echalecha, and then this was and then the date. So this is a psalm from Psalm of chapter 65, verse 5. you'll be seated in our house, and you'll be blessed with our goodness of our house. So that's what's on the synagogue front of my father's synagogue where he grew up in a little fisherman's town in the north of Holland called Enkhuizen. All right, well, I can talk a lot. I have a lot more to say, but I would like to sing some more. And we'll be going from Arba'im Shana Akut Bedor straight into Shiro Ladonai. Okay. Arba'im Shana Akut Bedor Va'omaram To'el Vafehim Vehem Lo Yadu Drachai Asher Nishbati Be'apim אם יבואון אל מנוחתי שירו לאדוני שיר חדש שירו לאדוני כל הארץ שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו בסרו מיום ליום ישועתו ספרו בגויים כבודו בכל העמים נפלאותיו כי גדול אדוני וכולם מאוהב נורא הוא אדוננו מכל אלוהי העמים מלילים אדוני שמיים עשה אות והדר לבניו ותפארת במקדשו אבו לאדוני משפחות העמים אבו לאדוני כבוד וארץ אבו לאדוני כבוד שמו זהו מנחה ובאו לחצרו התרחבו לאדוני בהר הקודש חילו מפניו כל הארץ אמרו בגויים אדוני מלך תיכון תבך ואל תימות יתים עמים במישרים ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם הים ומלואו יעלו שדי בכל אשר בו ירננו כל הצייר לפני אדוני כי בא ישבות הארץ ישבות תבל בצדק בעמים באמונתו If you want to unmute, everybody, if you want to unmute.
Thank you, Nida. No.
Okay. So in
She ran for mayor of Belgrade one time.
You did a deal with her.
Oh, it's you.
I'm going to ask you to mute again. In one of these books, in one of the Shirei Hazzan Amsterdam, there is an Al Hanissim, which looks like this, and I will be singing it shortly. It is an Al Hanissim that was composed, kind of honky-tonk. Well, this is not going to be honky-tonk at all. This is something very Hazzanish and serious. So it is not for me, but I would like to include it as well, especially because it's Hanukkah. So we thank you for the miracles, for the redemption, for the mighty deeds and triumphs In the days of Hashmonean, Mattathias ben Yochanan, the high priest, and his sons, when a wicked Hellenic government rose up against the people of Israel. So I'm going to try it to sing it in the Dutch original accent as it was sung before the war. And that is with lots of S's and gevoeraus instead of gevoerot, gevoeraus and negamaus and sheosiso and all of that. So I'm going to give that a try. Al hanisim ve'al hapurkon ve'al hagevuros ve'al hateshuos ve'al hanechamos she'asita lavosenu bayamim hahem b'zman hazeh. B'mei Yahovi ben Yochanan Kohen Gadol b'Chashmonai ובניו כשעמדו מלכות יוון הרשע על עמך ישראל להשכיחם את תורתך ולהעבירם מחוקי רצונך. ואתה ברחמך הרבים עמדת להם באש צרסם רבת את ריבם דנת את דינם נקמת את מקמסם מסרת גיבורים ביד חלשים ורבים ביד מעטים וטמאים ביד טהורים ורשעים ביד צדיקים וזדים ביד עוסקי וסורסך ולך עשית שם גדול וקדוש בעולמך עולמך ישראל בו עשית תשועה גדולה ופורקן כיום הזה ויחרפן בואו בניך לטביר ושך ופינו את היכלך וטיהרו את מקדשך והדליקו נרות בחצרות קודשך וקבעו 18 ימי חנוכה אלו להודות ולהלל לשמחו הגדול. So that is a piece that was sung by Hans Bloemendaal, and Hans Bloemendaal was the post-war Hazzan of the Netherlands, the chief Hazzan of the Netherlands. He passed away a few years ago. He was also a chemist, so he was combining and he was multitasking his career. Okay. I would. We're going to go to Psalm 98. It's Shiro Ladonai Shir Chadash, but we're starting in the middle. Zamru Ladonai Bachinor. Zamru Ladonai Bachinor, Bachinor Bekol Zimra, Bechatzrot Bekol Shofar, Nariya Lifnei HaMelech Adonai. Yidam Bayom Timloho, Tevel Beyom Sheva, Be'arot Yichnachu Chai, Yachat Harim Yeranenu, Lifnei Adonai Kiva, Lishmor et haaretz. ישפוט אדם בצדק והמים במשקים. זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור בקול זמרה, בחצוצרות בקול שופר. הריעו לפני המלך אדוני, הריעו לפני המלך אדוני. Okay, and we're moving on to Psalm 99, and the Dutch melodies will be coming shortly. I'm doing one for Lachadodi, so please stay tuned. This one, we're starting at Ba'amut Anan. And this is actually a slight modification of a melody that I learned from my mentor, Cantor Jackie Mendelson. Ba'amut Anan, Yedaber Alehem, Shamru Edotav, וחוק נתן לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, אתה הניתן, ונושא היית להם, ונוקם על עלילותם, רוממו, בהר קודשו רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו בהר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו בהר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו, רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו, רוממו. If you want to unmute, we'll do the keys together.
The hard culture, Romemu, Adonai, Elohim, Shabu, the hard culture, Kadosh Adonai,
Eloheinu Ramanu. Eloheinu Ramanu.
Okay, and we're moving on to Mizmor LeDavid on Havul Adonai B'nei Elim. Havul Adonai B'nei Elim, Havul Adonai Kavod v'Chaz, Havul Adonai Kevod Shemo, Yishtachavu Adonai Behatrat Kodesh, Kol Adonai Ha'olamayim El HaKavod Yirim, Adonai Adonai Hamayim Hamim, Kol Adonai B'Kohav, Kol Adonai B'Kavod, Kol Adonai Shuvir Arazim, V'Shavir Adonai Et Hazeh HaLvanon, V'Yakidehem K'mo Ekel Levanon, V'Sirion K'mo Ve'im, K'mo Ve'Ve'im, Kol Adonai Kotzem Labotesh, Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar, Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh, Kol Adonai Yechol Elayavo, Vayechesov Ye'arot, Uvehechavo Kulo Nekavot, Kulo Omer, Kulo Omer Kavod, Adonai Lama Ulyasham, Vayeshev Adonai Melech Leolam, Adonai Hos Le'amo Yitei, Adonai Yevarech et Amo V'Shalom. Okay, here I'm going to do a few different melodies for Lachadodi. The first one is a Dutch one. And I don't know, you might have, if you have heard about it, do me a favor and put an emoticon in your screen. So like raise your hand or so. I'm just going to get a quick drink of water. Hold on one second. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nekava, shamor v'zachor, v'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el meluchot. Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, Hashem u'tiferet v'netila. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nekavla. I'm going to see who is raising their hands. I saw one. I see a few. Edwin Rosen.
That's me, Hal.
Hal also. So that's 3 out of the 56 so far. So that's a very common Dutch melody to sing for Lachadodi. I'll do one more and then I'm moving on to another tune. Mikdash melech ir melucha umitzei mitochacha raf לשבת בעמק רווחה והוא יחמול עלייך חמה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת לקבלה. going now to Lotte Voshi Velotti Kalmi. So I'm skipping a few. And this is a melody, and I actually don't know where I heard it, but it is uplifting, it's upbeat, it's a little bit Sephardic in some ways, and let's see if it how it goes here. Lo lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat chala b'nei Shabbat Shabbat bekavela lecha lecha dodi likrat likrat chala b'nei Shabbat Shabbat bekavela lo tevoshi velo tikami ma tishtochechi u'ma tehemi If you are feeling inclined to sing along, unmute. Okay. So Tzaddik Tamar, rather than singing the regular Tzaddik Tamar, there is a melody that the Dutch are using for the Torah service. So it is that I'm doing Kabbalat Shabbat on Shabbat morning. There's a whole set of routines and nusach that I'm happy to share, but I'm keeping it in the framework of Kabbalat Shabbat now. Hold on. Okay. So this is actually the melody that we are taking the Torah out with, rather than in Kamocha, but I'm adapting it right now for Tzaddik Tamar. Tzaddik Tamar yifrach ke'erez bavanon yizkeh shetulim bebeit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu ot yenuvon beseva deshenim perenanim yiyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo flatabo etz chaim hi lamachazikim bach betomcheha Meushar. So that gives you a sense of how the Torah is being brought back before we close the ark. I have a few more things I'd like to show to you. Very old Sidurim that I inherited from my grandparents and great-grandparents. Let me see if I can show you the year. So this is a gebeden book, which is a Sefer Tfilot, gebed is to pray. And the year that it's from, let me see if I can, I'll tell you, from 1901. So the Hebrew year is 5661. Let me just see if I can really make that happen. Can you see this? 5661 from 1901. And so my great-grandfather was a Hazzan. During the week, he had a brush business, so he would manufacture brushes. But on the weekend, he shed his brushing business and became a Hazzan in the same synagogue that I showed you the letterings for. Let me just see if I can, the ones that are right in the background. That was the same synagogue. And that synagogue actually in 1965 was sold because there weren't too many Jewish citizens left in that place. We haven't even talked about how my father spent the war. It's a whole separate story. He was in hiding in 6 or 7 different places in the countryside. He is a month younger than Anne Frank. He's May 12, 1929. Anne Frank was June 12, 1929. They actually were at the same time at the Jewish high school because all the Jews were collected and sent to Amsterdam, so it was easier for them to deport, for the Germans to deport them. So that's in, my father had his bar mitzvah in 1942, a few weeks before the roundup started and the first deportations started happening. So there's a lot more to say. I have a lot more to, and I will give you another example. This is a prayer for Israelitische vrouwen, Israeli, well, not Israeli, but Jewish women. And it talks about, it's the prayer when you become a parent, when you become a bride, when you become a mother. So all these different prayers. There's a prayer that talks about what happens on Grote Verzoendag, on the gebed op den vooravond den Verzoensdags. And Verzoensdag actually is the Dutch term for the Day of Atonement or Yom Kippur. So it might actually be interesting, and I think it, rather than going into Ma'ariv, because that you're very familiar with, I'd like to share a few things about the Jewish Dutch culture. So the first, and you probably know much of this, the first settlers in Amsterdam came from the Portuguese. The Baruch Espinosa was one of them, and the Ashkenazi settlers, or whatever you will, came much later. They came after the Khmelnytsky pogrom. The Sephardi and the Ashkenazi didn't get together at all. They lived very separate lifestyles, but both of them had synagogues. The Portuguese synagogue is the one that you're most familiar with, the one with the hardwood floors and the chandeliers and the candles. The Ashkenazi synagogue turned into 545. Oh, okay. The Ashkenazi synagogue turned into the Jewish Historic Museum, And the Aron HaKodesh of my father's hometown is actually placed in that museum. So if you ever make a trip over there and you go visit both the museum as well as the Portuguese synagogue, which is called the Esnoga, then, and they're right opposite each other, you'll see the Aron HaKodesh. So just remember me then when you visit. So the Ashkenazi Jews brought with them a kind of funny Yiddish. It's not real Yiddish, but it is sort of like a mixture of all kinds of things. There's Hebrew in there, there's German in there, there's Dutch in there. If I say, ik ga even iets jatten. There is a word in there, jatten. Jatten, and the J is pronounced ye, jatten. So jatten is to steal. Comes from the word yad, to take it by hand. Een heitje voor een kwartijtje. Een heitje voor een karweitje. Heitje is 5 cents. Comes from the word hay, with the numerical value of hay, of 5. The bias is from the word bayit, but the bias in this particular case is the prison. So he has to go to the bias, to the prison for a while, to the house. So there are lots of different, and if you're going to some of the markets in Amsterdam that are still operational, you will still hear all this bargoens. It's called a language called bargoens, which is this mixture of Yiddish and Hebrew and the real plat Amsterdams, which is like this very gnawing Amsterdam accent that you see in the middle of town. So I wanted to share that with you. Let me see. How much time do I have?
About an hour. About an hour altogether.
About an hour. Okay. I am happy to do a little bit more of Marif. I'll just pick and choose a few things here and there, and then I'm happy to answer questions or tell you some more about the Dutch culture, how I grew up, and what Jewish life looks like right now.
We want to make sure we did get a Kaddish de Rabbanan too, please.
Yes, we'll do Kaddish de Rabbanan.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach Yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach la'alam u'almei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha v'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'meru. Amen.
Amen.
Al Yisrael v'al Rabbanan v'al Talmidehon v'al kol Talmidei Talmidehon v'al kol man da'askin b'oraita di v'atra hadin v'di v'chol atar v'atar Yehei lahon u'lachon shlama rabba china v'chizda v'rachamim v'chayim arichin u'mezona revicha u'forkona min Kodam avuhon di bishmaya v'meru. Amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim tovim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu v'rachamav yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. So my plan now is to share with you Debbie Friedman's Ahavat Olam, and then go to the Aleinu, and then we'll have some time for more show and tell. And if you have some questions, we can about the Netherlands, I'm happy to answer them. And we'll move to Aleinu. And you'll see this is a very March-like Aleinu. A lot of the Dutch Nusach is very March-like, very Western European, similar to German Nusach, I would say, in many ways. There's my Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, ששם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כחלומם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. And I'll skip through the end. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions or do any songs you might be interested in or would like to hear, or I can always follow up with you. Please unmute and please share with me your questions.
Barbara, before we get into the questions, I want to, on behalf of the organization sponsoring this, International Kiddush Club, the Federation of Jewish Men's Club, Women's League, Merkaz USA, Merkaz Canada, the Cantors Assembly, and I think that's everybody. Thank you, Toda Rabah, for the presentation tonight. Absolutely beautiful. I'm going to call you later in the week. I have an idea because FJMC has, we have these Zoom meetings, and maybe we can set up a program to do Zooms from different cantors from different countries to talk about their culture and their music in the countries. But I will speak to you later after that. So hopefully it doesn't get too cold at Congregation B'nai Jacob in Woodbridge, Connecticut. Thank you to Naomi and David on David's 50th anniversary of his bar mitzvah. And thank you to Marcia and Chuck Bernstein for sponsoring tonight, as well as David and Naomi, marking the 50th yahrzeit of Marcia's father and grandfather. Toda Rabah. Sponsorships are more than welcome. The amount is up to you. There's no set amount as to what it costs, but we'd love to have lots of sponsors, and you can sponsor to any of the organizations you like. It would be absolutely awesome. Toda Rabah. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Get off because I have to Zoom lighting candles with my grandkids. I wish everybody a beautiful, peaceful Shabbat.
So Barbara, I just sent you a private chat. You might be interested in reading it because my mother grew up in Amsterdam.
Hey,
during the war.
I'll take a look at the chats because otherwise, when we are disappearing, we may not during the war. Oh, and before Westerbork. Okay.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you very much for having me.
Shalom.
Have a happy Hanukkah. and Shabbat wonderful Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and Happy Hanukkah.
Happy
Happy
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Happy Hanukkah,
Happy
everyone.
Hanukkah, everyone.
And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Danny?
Stay well, everyone.
Cantor, is there a traditional Jewish foods of Holland?
For Hanukkah?
In general?
Oh, there are plenty. Oh, that's a whole separate thing. For there's bread, sort of a bread pudding. It's not a bread pudding. It's you can eat it on Hanukkah too. It's called crème shalish. Crème shalish. I would have to let me write it down in the chat so you can see.
So we have a cooking group. We'd love to get somebody from Holland to come and we have somebody this coming weekend from Persia. We've had Greece and other places. So Danny, I'm doing your job here. Come on.
No, and I'm the guy who just wrote you the private note. I do that too.
Okay. There's another food that I'd like to share. So we don't have any hamantashen at all. That just doesn't exist. Nobody knows anything about hamantashen. So I had to learn about hamantashen, which is crazy. How can you not know about hamantashen? But we have Haman's ears, and they look like fried dough. So the fried dough with powdered sugar on top of it. It's very, very healthy.
Do they have some kind of
Is there a good cholent from
Cholent is not really eaten either. That's very Eastern European. This is Western European. Very different.
Can rishtafel be made kosher?
Yes. Yes. If you can have vegetarian rijsttafel. Yes, absolutely.
We've been to the Ethnoga.
By the way, my mother grew up in Indonesia because Indonesia was a commonwealth
Of Holland.
Of Holland. And so my grandparents, one came from Poland, the other one came from was Dutch, became originally from Germany. They left before the war because they saw the trouble brewing, and they didn't realize that they were going to be in the hands of the Japanese. A whole separate story. I have much more. There's a lot more there.
So when you go talk about the music, we've been to the Ethnoga and there were extra verses in Adon Olam. Is that true throughout Holland?
I think, I'm not sure. I will double check that, but I think it's pertaining to the Portuguese synagogue. I haven't seen it in a Dutch door. I'm happy to pull up a Dutch Siddur and see? Would you like me to do that right now?
Sure.
Okay, hold on one sec. Let me get a contemporary Dutch Siddur.
Eric Crane. I don't know who she is, where she's from.
Ray, this sounds like a good thing for Merkaz to partner on for the worldwide stuff. We have so many people around the world.
Great. Absolutely.
Stan, are those Tim Horton Sufganiyot behind you?
No, these are Dr. Lafa. This is an Iraqi derived place. They're the best shawarma and the best falafel. 100% kosher around the corner from me. It's so good.
So you can, by the process of calculation, you can see how old I am. But this is the Siddur that I received for my bat mitzvah for my parents.
Wow.
Let me see Adon Olam. Hold on one sec. Let's see what's going on with Adon Olam.
When did you come to America?
In 1991.
And you grew up in Holland?
Yeah.
In Amsterdam?
I went to the Jewish day school in Amsterdam.
Is that still functioning?
Yep, absolutely. Let's see, hold on.
He's a strong Democrat. He writes about transformation.
You know what? I haven't looked at this Siddur in a long time. Can I get back to Stan and then Stan can answer that question?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. And I'll get you in touch with Saray too.
Okay.
Cantor, were your grandparents also born in Amsterdam?
No. My father's parents and the whole lineage, they are merchants in the 17th century. If you're interested, I have a pedigree that goes all the way back to the 18th century, 17th century. That I can find in 2 seconds. That's not difficult to find. Hold on one second.
Interesting.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
I think
Just knocked over the Hanukkah.
Yeah, it looks like it fell over.
It's light.
I don't think it's oil.
Annie, I didn't know you were half Dutch.
I'm not really happy. My mother, they went to, they were like Anne Frank, except that she survived. She has the same exact story. Born in Berlin, and then they went to Amsterdam to escape Germany, and then they got stuck, and but she survived. So that's. But she actually went to grade school in Holland, in Amsterdam. So.
Oh, what was her maiden name?
Neumann, and her mother was Moses. So they probably knew each other. And my grandmother, Umi, her best friend was Anne Frank's school teacher, Margot and Anne.
Huh.
So very intertwined.
Yeah. This is the original pedigree. So where you see the asterisks, that's Solomon Jacob Snijders, merchant, born April 1st, 1808 in Amsterdam, married to, and then you see the whole thing. Wow. Some of them went to Israel, some of them went to England, some of them to Switzerland, but there were 9 brothers. So if you look down, it's just 9 brothers, and then we have it all figured out. This is the whole pedigree where it goes from here to here, and this is on my grandma's side. Oh. My father has written a book about his experiences in the war, and my family was profiled in a book called Orphan Objects, which was the facets of the textile collection of the Jewish Historic Museum in Amsterdam. Because my family was in textiles, they had a textile shop. All the fabrics were hidden underground, the same way as the Sefer Torah during the war. And I just have a lot more that I can show. I have so many things. We really kept everything in pristine condition, and my father has passed a lot of it to me. He's in Amsterdam. He is doing well, thank goodness. He was COVID positive in a nursing home, but he's one of the lucky ones, and he like sailed through. I'm like, oh, thank God, because there's no way we could go over there right now.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, and I think that you've given us all a lot of thought about European Jewry, and that it's not completely gone, that it's still there, and there's still traditions that we can look at and be very thankful for. So thank you very much for being with us this evening, and we hope to hear from you soon. We'll get in touch and we'll talk about it. I think it's great. You know, Alan had this great idea, and I think we can work with Saray and Merkaz USA and our group of Merkaz Canada and the FJMC and Women's League can all work together and make this really wonderful.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Cantor.
All right, Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hanukkah Sameach.
Hanukkah Sameach.
Shabbos is here. Shabbos is here. Shabbos is here. Shabbos is here. Yum da 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 yum da 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 yum da 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 yum da 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 da da da. Shabbos is here. Shabbos is here.